Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. This is your host, Charaka, and I'm back on the podcast with another episode. So, this week's episode is with my lovely friend, Halie, who is an artist and also happens to be the guest curator for our new and current call for art, which is on the theme of pride. And I thought I would bring Halie on the podcast so that we can talk about, what pride has been. I took this as a pleasure for myself to learn more about, the LGBTQ community, what her experiences has been, and what she's looking forward to curate in this call for art. And it's been a beautiful conversation. I am so glad we did this, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. In this episode we talk about how pride can mean differently to all of us. For someone like us who identify as women, for queer identifying women, or the LGBTQ plus community, and how our experiences shape us. Halie also talks about her experiences of before coming out and just the mere celebration of the fact of liberty, sexuality, gender, freedom. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you're interested to apply for the call for art, you know where to go: www.arts2artsproject.com/submit. And the deadline for the call for art is 1st of August. And let's get into the episode. Before we get into this episode, I quickly want to remind you about our current call for art. The theme for this call is Pride, and we're so happy to have Halie Torris, who's an artist based out of US, Maryland, is curating this call for art for us. She is an artist from the LGBTQ plus community, and this call for art is open for women and artists from the LGBTQ plus community. The deadline to submit is 1st of August 2022, and we look forward to see what pride basically means to you as women, as a queer woman, as someone from the LGBTQ plus community. The submission for this call for art can be around topics of gender, sexuality, identity, and how we explore these themes and how we celebrate pride in our own identity as women, as someone from the LGBTQ plus community. We really look forward to curating this show. I think it's a very powerful theme, and we all have something really important to contribute to this. So yeah, if you are interested to be a part of it, you can go and join us and submit on www.arts2artsproject.com/submit. Remember, the call for art ends on 1st of August 2022, and I always believe that it's great to submit as early as possible. It gives you an edge post all other submissions, because a curator gets to spend some more time with your work and you're just well prepared. If you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to us at Arts to Hearts Project on Instagram, on our emails. We're always there to answer your queries. Again, we look forward to your submissions. You can submit on www.arts2artsproject.com/submit. The deadline is 1st of August, and this open call is open for women artists and LGBTQ artists from all over the world. So yeah, let's get back into this episode now. Hello, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's so nice to talk to you again.
I'm more than happy to have you every time. Like, I've had your podcast, studio visits. I think you've been there mostly with anything and everything we've done.
Yeah, I think I was the first studio visit, actually.
Yes,
wasn't I?
You were. Yes,
Yeah.
you were. We're currently interpreting, creating the studio visit into a physical, in a digital format for the website, and then also working on the studio visit book. So, and it's such a perfect timing because we are releasing your studio visit in the coming week, and we're recording this today.
I want to see it. All the timing is working out perfectly.
Yes. No, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I just got into actually my new studio space, so I would do a completely different video now. But just been creating, doing prints, selling work. Pride Month last month was super busy. So I'm just keeping level-headed now, catching up a little bit.
How does it feel? The Pride Month's almost like we're on 1st of July today. One whole
I
month. How
know.
has
I know. I was kind of sad when I woke up today because I was like, oh, it's over. But it's okay. We can continue the
yeah,
Pride Month all months.
Pride life?
Yes, exactly. No, I was in New York not last week, 2 weekends ago. I wanted to be there for Pride, but it's just you can feel the energy like throughout the month, and I definitely felt it when I was there. So it was nice.
Okay, tell me something. What is pride to you?
Pride to me, I wrote a poem about it actually at the beginning because I was trying to think of like what it actually means to me because I'm not like I sometimes think of pride as like yelling or screaming and like being loud about who you are, and I see it as like very subtle, like little subtle moments that I experience where I'm like being myself authentically, and it doesn't necessarily have to be super super loud about it. You can just be proud of who you are um, in very like soft moments or day-to-day moments. So pride is more uh, I found a lot of pride like within my work
Yeah,
and expressing myself in that way because I wasn't like the loudest growing up. So I find pride in a lot of different areas, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like a very loud, I don't know, loud version of
yeah.
it.
No, I completely agree. I think I can relate to that. I think for me also, I think pride, I think it's also an after feeling. Like, I don't know how do I say it. Like, I think when you felt the pressure of, I know, not being able to express yourself, accept yourself, you know, or being bottled down in whichever way or whichever form. And then
Yeah.
once you go beyond that step and come out
Hmm.
of that bubble, that sense, even if I, let's say for me, a lot of times, like when I try to do anything, like let's say I'm extremely let's say I'm extremely scared of driving. And after my mom, I was like, because when you have like some kind of trauma, your fears elevate, like they shoot to the roof. So I had that with me in most part of my life. And I realized, like, even when I was just taking one step forward into something that really mattered to me, but I felt bottled up and I felt scared, and I made some
Hmm.
progress, I would always feel that sense of accomplishment and that sense of pride that I think just so much more than an external factor, it feels like such an internal sense.
Yes. No, it is. And
I
and like
I
how
don't
you
know if
said,
I'm
like an
saying it
after
right.
feeling. No, I
Yeah,
loved how you put it because it is. It's like when you're sitting, like my mind went to just sitting in a public space, whether it's like a restaurant or somewhere in the world, and just feeling just totally like authentically in your space, like within yourself. Yeah, it doesn't come from anything external. It can, like obviously, if you're around people that are supportive or you're in like a good
but even
space,
then, it's an
it's just
internal, I
a
feel.
feeling. Yeah. But yeah, most of it does reflect back to yourself, the mere
Yeah,
reflection. So yeah, it's just like a feeling of ease and like, yeah, and pride and being strong within yourself.
I think a lot of times
So I
when you're
love that.
saying, even with the external validation, a lot of times I have felt, a lot of times a praise have may not exactly make me feel proud, or like pride will, like, trigger that feeling of pride. A lot of times I think it essentially comes about how I feel about that and what it makes me feel. Sometimes people would appreciate you for something that you don't want to be recognized with, let's say, or don't want to be, you don't see
Yeah.
yourself in that light.
Yeah. No, it
How did
definitely
you, yeah,
all comes from within.
tell me how does Pride Month celebration look like? What is, as someone from the LGBTQ community, what is the importance it holds um, to you?
Gosh, it's so much like this Pride Month for me was like so much different than
Really?
previous. I don't know if it was because of the pandemic. I wasn't out or I couldn't go out,
Okay.
but this Pride Month. I just had more opportunities to go out. There was, if you saw on my profile, there was a Pride prom event.
Yes.
And at first I was like, I don't want to go because it brought up like a lot of old stuff for me, like going to prom. I went like 2 years in high school with two guys. Not at the time, I would have never like went with another girl or woman.
Yeah.
But just like thinking of those moments where I might have stifled my expression because I was thinking about, well, what am I going to wear to this event? Like, how can I express myself and feel proud and authentic in myself? Which goes about like gender expression more so than sexual identity. But anyway, so I was so excited to wear my pantsuit and like just, I got so excited for it, and I hadn't experienced that in the past.
Wow.
So it was like being able to show up, but then also realizing like the shame and different things, internalized homophobia stuff that comes up,
Yeah.
you know, when I'm putting myself out there that I didn't previously look at in the past. So I think just getting out more is like pressuring me to like really deal with these things or look back at maybe things that I hadn't looked at before. But then even to just stand there and be proud, even though not everybody might agree with you or, you know, agree with where you're going. So that's, it means more because I'm like experiencing it a lot differently than I did in the past. Cause I wasn't fully like out as I am now that's basically what I do now is I make these like queer narrative paintings for queer women and people around the world. So it's wild. Like when I really look at it, but it just means so much more to me this year.
Oh, wow. I'm so happy for
it's
you.
scary too. Thank you.
I remember our last podcast episode was we spoke about, you know, how you came out of the closet, your story of finding yourself, accepting yourself. And I think that was 2 years ago. I think our first podcast, 1.5 years ago, I'm sure, if not 2. So you've like, that's quite some time, like 1.5 years ago. But no,
it feels like a long time.
Yes.
But not really. It's kind of in between.
I think with the pandemic, I think my life, I don't think I've seen this movement in my life as much like in the past 2 years. I may not have seen this movement in my life in all aspects in the past, let's say 25, 30 years. Like sometimes it's just not the time and how long that time is, but how many moments we live and the changes and the challenges. And like with the pandemic, we've all had like huge leaps and we've grown so much and experienced so much that we typically may not even experience in the past 20 years, 30 years of our lives. And it's really changed us fundamentally.
Yeah, it's kind of like stripped down, like the pandemic time for me. I'm grateful that I was like healthy. But I like got to really look and strip down all the other stuff and really look at like, okay, what do I want? What do I want in my art? Like it just forced me to be able to do that. And I think, you know, you as well and other artists that, that we know. And I'm grateful for that because it like jump started a lot for me, like that I maybe wouldn't have looked at previously if that wouldn't have happened. So
how do you think,
how is Pride in India?
Honestly,
I meant to ask you that. I wanted to ask you.
Honestly, if to be 100% honest and with no filters, smaller cities, I don't think they're still very familiar with and open about the concept. I don't know if you know, but India is a very patriarchal country. The concept of women having empowered an identity is still very discomforting for a lot of them. So it's a huge leap when it comes to anything just way beyond. Like apart from male, anything else is still a leap. Celebration of Pride Month, I know, like, you know, we've had a lot of events in Delhi. A lot of my friends, like, but here's something. I know a lot of people from the LGBTQ community, but even though they're out, they're not fully out. And that's an equation in a country where even if you're there, but you're still not there. Like this is only I'm sharing something from my own experience where I know, but not that we still have like. But I think there's still very less conversation. There is
very less celebration. Especially US is way more open about, and there's a lot more support. Whereas in India, there needs to be a lot more conversation, a lot more support, um, to make this like bigger and better.
Yeah. I would also add, like, even for the US, I mean, in smaller towns, it's not
No,
like I think a lot of people can look at the US and be like, oh yeah, when you look at cities and like New York City Pride, LA Pride, like obviously those cities are very open,
bigger
but like
cities,
even where I'm from, yeah, like
Madeline.
where I'm from, it's a smaller beach town on the coast of
Yes.
Maryland. Like it's getting there, but that was the Pride Prom was the first event here. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty cool. And it was
Okay.
like done by a queer owned business, but there wasn't like a parade. Like it's not as open, and like where I grew up too, it's not as open as like people might think, you know, in the US. Like US is just all pride. It's not, especially
Yeah.
like southern states and things. I mean, with the whole row thing as well, you can kind of see where people stand with women and all that. But yeah, I won't go into that. But it's not as open as people might, you know, presume it is.
I think another thing that I feel is the conversation is still stronger when it comes to being online. I think there's still
Mm-hmm.
comfort. But when it comes to being
Oh yeah.
offline, because the
Yes.
community, like, I've seen a lot of people, my friends that I know, they're still comfortable being online and celebrating and just
Gosh, it's
being
so
out there.
different.
But
No, that's
offline,
such a good point. Yeah.
and I think if in India, it's even harder because the societal structure we have in India is very traditional. So, like, there are over involved families, constant judgment of anything. Like, if people don't have if let's say if women don't have a right to wear the choice of their own clothes, the right for people to choose their gender identity is is such a big deal. I think
Yeah.
that really overwhelms. Like, I'll say a very common example, like, how when, let's say, someone dresses up, okay? Like, if I would dress up, or if someone would dress up, if whatever I wear, let's say, for in someone else's um definition, if it's a little too much or whatever, I wouldn't wear that typically in a place that I feel I would feel judgmental. Similarly, I think
Mm-hmm.
this is only clothes. This is as teeny tiny as that. But there's far more, like, things like these, where these are so sensitive that can hurt you. People, people in India have no sense of
Yeah.
boundaries. People can say things that
Yeah.
we can't even imagine. And I think that is why a lot of times offline people, like a lot of people tend to keep to themselves and um, just stay in that cocoon. And I don't blame them because it
Yeah.
takes
You're scared. You
immense.
don't want to be, takes a lot of courage. I mean,
Yes.
I can relate to that 1,000%. Even with just wearing something simple, like, I mean, in a different way, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna walk down the street with like a rainbow, like just
Yeah.
rainbow stuff everywhere. It depends that I could go to New York and do that, and it would be like nobody would
Yeah.
bat an eye or
Nobody
look
would
at me
care.
weird. But here, they'd be like, "What are you doing?" But what you said about, you know, showing up online versus in real life, I noticed a huge difference, and that's what I'm currently. I feel like Pride's different because I can actually go out in public spaces and, you
What
know,
made it different for you this
show
time?
up. I just think I got so comfortable over the pandemic showing up online that I didn't
Yeah.
think about like I would cocoon myself, like you said, and then it's like, well, you still need to get out there and live your life, and it's different. It's different sitting in front of somebody, looking at their facial expression face to face, than me, you know, taking my phone and posting, you know, my art or my videos and just saying it's there. I can look at the comments when I feel like it.
And you
But when
can
you're in
refuse
real
to.
life, like you're living it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's real life. I mean, it's just so much different, and to be able to show
Yeah.
up authentically is is everything, but
Yeah,
it's
and
scary.
also think
It is.
sometimes like with online, we still have the option, okay, you feel you're not mentally there. And in all parts of situation, you block your comments, you don't listen,
Yeah, there's like
you
a
don't
there's like a wall.
filter. Yeah, you can still build a wall, but
Yeah. Oh, if
it's
there's a
so
comment I
hard.
don't like, oh, it's deleted. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Like if there's like a
Yeah.
homophobic comment, it's
Yeah.
gone. I can't. But in real life, if somebody said something to you, you'd be like,
You wouldn't even know, like,
oh,
and you can't undo that. Like if it reaches your ears, it's there.
Yeah. No, it has an effect, like rings in your ear. Yeah.
So what typically happens
just,
in a Pride month? Tell me. I've never been to one, never seen one here. So I'm really
actually
excited
never
to learn
been
about
to.
it.
Yeah, no, I've actually never been to like a Pride. Like the biggest Pride event was that prom that I went to, and then being in New York around Pride Month, and just seeing like all the flags up. Like at the Rockefeller Center, there were flags, just Pride flags lining, and everywhere you went, it was just Pride. And I just I like started to tear up at some points because when I see a Pride flag, I get so emotional. So just, I mean, different events happening around the US. I know there's Pride in New York at the end of the month. I think LA was earlier, but just big cities have like big Pride parades and events and celebrations. So it's just a month to celebrate, you know, all
You're
people in
right.
the LGBTQ plus community, queer people. It's great.
It's like a festive season.
Yeah, it's just like a party month, like a like a rainbow party month, basically, is what
and it's all glitter and
generally it
beautiful.
is. Yeah.
I think I saw last year's Pride March in New York or something, and I just loved the energy. I just loved the energy. And I wasn't even there, I just saw it online.
I know. I need to go. I'm so sad I didn't go last week. I had an event, a family event I had to go to, or else I would have been there. But I need to make a point to go to one in a big city next year. I wish it was next week. But yeah, because it's like the energy I've heard is just electric, and being around people and being able to feel seen and just comfortable and accepted. It's like, you don't know, being a queer person, like you don't know all the time if you're safe. There's kind of like a guard that's always up that I get used to when I walk in. Am I safe here? Can I say this? Can I do this? Especially if you're with a partner, like, am I safe to be in, like, hold her hand or whatever the situation is? Like, you really don't know. So it's always like looking around. So it's just, that's the beauty of it, is if you're at an event, you just don't have to think about it. Like, you can just be you. And like we were talking at the beginning, I know
like
it does
when you're
come.
living your life, like on a regular day?
Sorry?
How do you interpret Pride on a regular day? I feel like, for me, I mean, again, I love the celebration and like like when we dedicate, but we can, like, we need to continuously make sure that we are celebrating who we are every day, even if it means little progress, even if it means small steps, but just reminding ourselves that we can be ourselves, if not in all ways in one day, but in small ways every little day.
Yeah. Kind of like what I was saying at the beginning, just in your day to day. I mean, I'm not running around, like I said, with a pride flag, but I mean, showing up online, keep creating. For me, it's like creating different art pieces, but even in my like stripped down day to day, just in conversation, just if something comes up around different topics, just to be present and to be able to just feel safe within yourself, to show up as your authentic self. It's nothing like grandiose or like large that you can do day to day. It's just small little things. Like
you do that with your art.
I have, this is something really small, but I put this pride sticker on my water bottle. So when I go to the gym or yoga, I'm like,
it's like
I hope you can see it.
It's subtle. Like, it's something that doesn't, like, it's subtle, but it's out there.
Yeah. Well, just if I saw that on someone's water bottle, I'd be happy. I'd be like, oh, this person's cool. Like they support.
Yeah, you're standing up for yourself. You're basically claiming who you are. We all have the right to do that.
Yeah. So I
love
just like
that.
put my rainbow rainbow sticker on. But that's just something like totally small. But
Yeah.
It's like, for me, things that were hard in the past was depending on a conversation that I was in with a group of people, how real on a personal level, like how real am I being with myself, showing up and not worrying about what anyone else, like whatever someone's opinion is, whatever the conversation is. It's like, am I speaking and not holding my breath? Am I speaking and just allowing things to come and being open with how I feel based off who I am? So that's kind of another little thing too that I am conscious of.
With your work, I think,
or try to
your
be.
your work has a lot of pride. Not only literally, like, see,
Thank
for
you.
me, I'm always trying to see pride in two perspectives. Like, like I said, like the after that feeling that you get, I think we both can get the same feeling, and even we can come from different lenses, different
Yeah,
experiences. And like for
definitely.
me, coming being in an Indian, like, being in India, being a woman, the fights that we have, the fight to be ourselves, to claim our bodies, to claim our identities, to claim our position. It's a long, long journey. It's been a long, long journey, and it still is a long way. So I can only come because that's the most intimate experience. That's the experience I come from. I can't come from an experience I haven't had. I know where you come from. So I'm just seeing, like, I love your work. I love the
Thank
I
you.
just I love how um, strongly it holds itself. How even like how it's feminine,
Thanks.
but it's also so sharp, and it holds its voice and ground on its own.
Thank you.
You know what I'm trying to say?
I love that. No, and that's what I try. Yeah, that's what I try and do, is like capture that feminine energy, but keep it's always like this balance for me between feminine and masculine. So kind of keeping that, like you said, like a feminine aspect to it, and then having like a sharpness or like an edge. And I like to keep it that way. Whatever composition that I pick is kind of based off of those two things.
Okay, so tell me now, we are doing this international call for art for with the theme Pride, and you're guest curating it.
Yes.
Firstly, we are so excited. I'm so excited to do this because I'm looking forward to learn a lot more, and see a lot more and hear people's stories, and just see. I think with every theme, every time we see the submissions, it opens my mind so much, because there is so many possibility of something that we haven't even thought about, and stories that I haven't heard about and experienced anyway. What are you thinking about this call is for women and LGBTQ plus community both? um, what are you looking forward to in the show, in the work that we're calling out for, the artists that who submit? What is that you're looking for?
No, I mean, I'm very open to whatever, submissions come in from whatever medium. I love seeing storytelling. That's something that binds, my work together.
Yeah.
And I think as a queer artist, and coming from my own space, it's beautiful to see how other people's experiences have shaped the work that they create, especially about pride. So I just know it can look like so many different things, and I'm just excited to see different works and different narratives maybe that are being played. I love narratives, so I'm excited to take a look at different artists and see new work, and just be very open to whatever kind of comes through, because pride can look
Exactly.
like so many different things.
Yeah, I mean, we can all have our definitions of pride. We can all have our own experience of when that feeling of pride comes in, and how we associate to ourselves and to others
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, but I think like we said too with the beginning, like, it's very internalized to this type of feeling. So seeing, I mean, I do figurative work, but I would love to see just like abstract, figurative, like just whatever, I'm just really excited to see, submissions and to check out everyone's work.
Me too. Thank you so much. For anyone who's interested, they can find all the details of this call for art in collaboration with Halie on our website. Again, the theme for this open call is Pride, and Halie will be curating. The deadline to submit to this open call is 1st of August 2022, and this open call is open for women artists and LGBTQ plus community artists from all over the world. Mediums like painting, drawing, mixed media, collage, photography, and like are accepted, but we're always open to different mediums. If something is there that we don't know yet about, always free to reach out to us, show us your work so that we can know if this is something that we can. And we always try ways to incorporate challenging different mediums that may not be typical. So yeah, I look forward. I'm sure Halie look forward. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add when you were talking, what I wanted to enunciate on is just how Pride doesn't have to last for 1 month. Like in June, like Pride is something that is consistent and encompasses every single month. So just seeing what Pride looks like throughout the year and not just focusing like on, all the rainbows and celebrations are great, but seeing real authentic interpretations is what I'm, really looking for. So
yeah, I mean, I remember like, I love that thought because, when we were doing the ready to wear call and then I was just telling you, Celine and I had this conversation. We did a podcast episode and I loved why she was saying, for me, ready to wear is also like something, someone standing in the kitchen and an apron that person is wearing. That is also an interpretation of what someone is wearing and how that puts a context to someone's work and life and moments of life. And I think I really like this idea again for Pride, like
that's beautiful.
How you capture that emotion and you convey that emotions in day-to-day lives, and that Pride may not just be in context. Like I think with this theme, at least for me, I'm really looking forward to works that are centered around gender, sexuality, identity, like these topics, and they relate to like gender generalization or like body of sexualization of bodies. And like I'm just saying in one of words, but anything and everything that centers around, because we just like there's such a wide thing and wide topic, and there's so many important narratives that could be included in it.
Yeah, I mean, just your experience as a queer person or somebody in the community is so diverse. Like everyone has their own unique experience. And like you said, anywhere from like gender expression to sexual identity, like all these different gender identity. There's just so many different aspects that can pull together under Pride, under the theme of Pride. So just being able to really take that in and see how artists interpret that for themselves, I think is really beautiful, and it's going to be really exciting to see.
Me too. And even for women, I just want to remind that this call is not only for LGBTQ community, but also for the women from all over the world and how they interpret, because I feel like we all have our own interpretations of what gender or sexuality identity is, and how other women artists, even if you're making work in the sense of Pride, LGBTQ, but also in general when it comes to gender identity, sexuality, your work is more than welcomed in this theme, because we'd love to have that perspective too.
Yeah. And I also wanted to say too, like you can be anywhere in your journey too, like how we were talking about being fully out, being, closeted. I don't know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you identify as either. You don't have to have a specific label. Like you can just kind of, we'll accept
just share
and we'll
look
at your work.
I think the whole call, the idea of a call like this is to have a visual narrative, a visual storytelling in collaboration with people from all around the world to express what Pride means to all of us collectively.
Yes, exactly.
I love that. So yes, if you're interested, you can go submit to www.arts2heartsproject.com/submit. You'll find the link with Haley's picture, and that's where you'll find all the details. The link is in the bio on our website, on our Instagram, in the show notes for this episode. And the last date to submit is 1st of August. So I look forward, and I'm sure so does Haley.
Looking forward to it.
Perfect. I'll see you soon then.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.